Okay, so welcome back to the Seafarer Social Podcast, and today I'm delighted to say that I have a fantastic guest with me. It is Nikolai. Nikolai is a seafarer who has been working on LNGs most of his career, and now he has moved over to shore-based work. He has grown a fantastic follower basis on Instagram, about 25,000 followers. Some of his videos on Instagram have got millions of views, and he is now working as a coach for seafarers, offering advice in how they can improve their career and providing a lot of value to the seafaring community. So, thank you for joining me, Nikolai. How are you?
Yeah, Carl, thank you for inviting me. First of all, I'm doing pretty well. Everything is all right. How are you today?
I'm very good, very good. Thank you for asking. So, so let's get straight into it. I think the best place to start is probably from the beginning. So, if you could
hmm
tell us a little bit more about where you're from and how you started off in working in the maritime industry.
hmm Okay, I got it. So you see, basically, I'm from Russian Far East, a place called Vladivostok. It's located on Sea of Japan coast. We are like 4 hours drive from China, so I'm from very Asia side of the Russia. And honestly speaking, I'm the third generation seaman in my family.
Wow. So your whole family have always been in seafarers.
Yeah, you can say like that because on my mom's side, my grandma and grandpa they met each other on cargo vessel on
Wow.
the route from Kamchatka to Chukotka. It is like very northern part of the Russia, and my father is chief engineer with 32 years of experience. So definitely from the age of 14, I had no doubts I will become a seafarer.
Fantastic. And what made your family in the past interested in seafaring? Have you ever asked them why they decided to pursue a career as seamen?
Um, Not really, because we are like coming from the northern part of Russia. It's like a place close to Alaska, and my family always used to live at the port cities. So same do I. We are very influenced by the all this maritime field. And my father actually he started his career at nautical vessels. They had like research program for oil and gas near to New Zealand, Fiji. During the Soviet time, there was a lot of researches in communication together with Vietnam, together with some other countries. And so my father, yeah, decided it would be really great to escape from the north and to move to some exotic countries.
Nice. And that's similar to what you've done now yourself, right? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but you're
Yeah.
currently living in Thailand.
That's right. I just decided last year. I decided to take a sabbatical year, at least 1 year minimum, and I decided to move around the world. And for last like almost 3 months, I settled in Thailand. And yeah, but soon I'm gonna to move next month. Next plan is Vietnam.
Nice. Sounds very beautiful. So tell us a little bit more about some of the ships you are operating on and what rank you currently are as a seafarer.
Yeah, actually, at the age of 19, I got my first assignment to vessel. I was an able seaman for around 5 months on board old rusty reefer ship for local domestic companies, full Russian crew. We were doing ship-to-ship operation in Pacific Ocean. We were taking the frozen packed fish and moved it to mostly to Korea, to Busan. And that time I was working with like really low standard company where there was a lot of fighting, a lot of drinking, a lot of conflicts, like old school seafaring. It was a really great experience for me just to have it once and to decide that, okay, this is the level I don't want to be engaged with. I want to move on and increase my level of my safety and all those things. And basically, I was lucky to be taken by one of the major Japanese company called NYK. I started there as a cadet. I entered cadet program because at that time they used to work with our university. And from my fourth year of education, I started going to their vessel every year. And then I started working after my graduation. They took me as a third officer on container ships initially. So I used to work on container vessels for almost like 4 years as a third officer, then lately second officer. Then I moved to LPG vessels, and lately I became a chief mate there. And lately I changed the company, moved to another company. So I changed my company only once in my career and moved to LNG fleet. So this is pretty much my maritime path.
Nice. And I'm interested in asking a little bit more about moving from company to another company.
Hmm.
In a lot of businesses, shore based, and a lot of careers shore based,
Hmm.
individuals move around because moving around gives you a competitive advantage, right? Typically, if you
Yeah,
move to another company, you usually get a 10 to 15% raise than what you
yeah.
would have done if you stayed. Is that the same for seafaring, do you think? Is it beneficial financially for a seafarer to move from one company to another?
I think yes, in a way of when you're becoming especially chief mate, when you're touching at top four positions, the difference in salary could be much different. I mean, especially if you're talking of different types of fleet. You see what happened in my company in NYK? I moved to LPG fleet, but my life target for my career was LNG vessel because this is nowadays it is a top type of fleet regarding their salaries, regarding the safety standards, and actually perspectives. But somehow it happened that my company, uh, like they clearly told me that sorry, but in our company you won't be able to shift to LNG vessels. LPG, okay, you stay. You will have very fast promotion to captain. You just make a minimum sea time, clear your license, and then definitely we'll make you a master because we are a lack of people. Nobody wants to work on LPG because comparatively to LNG, it's quite a harder and it's paid less. And then that's why I decided to make my way all the way to LNG because just speaking about figures, as a chief mate on LPG, I used to do around like 10, 11K dollars per month. When on LNG, I got 15. So you
Wow.
see, it's quite different. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one of the thing why everybody wants nowadays to shift either to LNG or to offshore fleet because there is significant difference in the salary comparatively to other types of fleet. So yeah, answering your question, it is beneficial to change the company, especially when you're changing the fleet.
Sure, makes complete sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's exactly similar to shore base. If you move around, once you get to a certain point in your career where you're
yeah.
a specialist in an area or you're a management position, moving around makes sense because it gives you that competitive advantage. And it's the same, like you said, when you reach the top four positions in seafaring. So let's talk a little bit more about some of the challenges you faced at sea. I
Hmm.
want to know both literally and metaphorically, right? Is
Hmm.
there in terms of mental strength, mental cope? Have you been challenged in that way before when you've been on these contracts? And also, has there been physical challenges? Have you got any stories while on board where you've been physically
Hmm.
challenged by some of the crazy experiences that seafarers face when they're at sea?
Yeah, the main thing from the very beginning, I made my dad a promise that I will be working in mixed crew only because for me, to be a seafarer, first of all, the minimum level you should speak English, like how to say, very good English, because shipping is international thing, and I always strive to work with mixed crew, with different nationalities, with different people. That's why I don't know. I was lucky for almost all my career. I was only one Russian speaking on board. And this is the one of the biggest challenges. So when you're coming on board the ship, when you're only one representative of your language, of your culture, basically. Because most of the time I was working with Indians, with Filipino, with guys from Myanmar, with Japanese, and it's totally different culture. It's totally different background. And of course, to be a seafarer, you need to have your flexibility at 100% because you're living with these people. You're not only working, you're living with these people, and you have to, you know, find yourself a strength to be adaptable, to be flexible, for accepting some cultural features which you haven't used before. And this is one of the biggest challenges that I experienced because of the difference in culture. Of course, English, different accents. Like Russians have one kind of accents, Indians has another. When you're going to speak with native speakers, it's totally different. Yeah, this is another thing because I remember when I came first time on board the vessel, I literally didn't understand what guys want from me speaking on the radio. I was asking 2, 3 times because I was not able to catch accent. And guys also didn't understand me because Russian accent is, if you speak like this, it sounds like very tough and some words are different. Yeah. So this is the one of the things. Another challenging thing what I found for myself, since I was mostly trading between US and Asia, is time zone changes. Because, for example, to come from Tokyo to Panama and lately to Texas, you need to shift around more than 12 hours. And you're doing this continuously day after day, and our body not made for this. When you're younger, when you're like at your 20s, you don't feel it much. But when you're coming close to 30s, this thing is really like accumulating in yourself. This, like you're getting exhausted very fast because you're not sleeping properly. You're lacking 1 hour. When you're going to east, when you're going to east, you're lacking 1 hour, and after 3 or 4 weeks, you're really feeling like you're like, what is happening here? And it's quite a challenging thing. And of course, if we are speaking about critical operations such as mooring, pilotage, navigating in narrow channels with restricted visibility, there are plenty of challenges like this, especially if you come to Chinese ports and actually Asia side, like Singapore Strait, Malacca Strait, approaching to most of the Chinese ports. There are a hell of a lot of fishing boats, and navigation is like, it's like the heaviest traffic you ever experience if you come to China, for example. If to speak particularly about some challenges, exact challenges which I experienced once when I was second mate, I had to play a role of surgeon because what I mean, I was on the watch and chief engineer brought me a wiper and he had a big cut on his head, like around 2 or 3 centimeters, really like cut.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's happening? And this guy started making a story like, I was working in engine room, I was wearing my helmet, then suddenly I moved like this, helmet fell on the deck, I stand up and hit some corner, and then I got this cut. But we know, like most of guys, they're not, some guys, they're not wearing actually a helmet when they're working in engine room because it's hot, it's uncomfortable and all. So, but okay, guy had a really, really deep cut there. Myself as a second mate, I was responsible for hospital and managing hospital and all those things. So I called captain directly. Captain came on the bridge, took over the watch. I got this guy, brought him to hospital. I called chief mate because I had never experienced. I only used to make stitches on my trainings, not on the real human, but like on dummy.
Yeah, sure.
But luckily, chief mate, he was a guy from India, Nitin Gupta. Yeah, quite experienced chief mate, and for our luck, he already had such kind of situation on the same vessel, just few contracts before. One guy also cut his arm and he had to put stitches. So luckily he had experience, and it took for us like around 1 hour to make disinfection, to put anesthesia, to actually to trim his hair and to put stitches. And it's quite a thing, I would tell you. It's not like stitch a piece of clothes. Yeah, it's a skin. It's very tough. You need really to apply force, to make the stitch. But luckily everything was okay. And after 1.5 weeks, we came to Panama. We sent this Viper for medical check ashore. And at that time, these guys, they told, those stitches were done very professionally and everything was okay. Yeah. So sometimes you have to experience such situation at sea because nowadays, on the merchant fleet, there are no doctors. There are no doctors, no medical assistants might be available if you're in the middle of Pacific or like you have 4,000 miles one side, 4,000 miles another side, and nobody will help you. And we have to manage ourselves. And this is also one of the gray area of the merchant Navy nowadays. Yeah.
Wow. I think one of the things you said at the beginning, which was really interesting, was about that um, the communication between with different cultures. But then, like you've just said now,
Yeah.
you become a brotherhood almost to the point whereby when one's injured, you physically have to be the ones to revive him.
Yes.
And in this
Yeah.
circumstance, you all came together, and luckily, someone had experience in stitching, which is crazy because what other job in the world would require that, right?
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
even even if you're in the army, for example, if
Hmm.
someone gets an injury, they get sent to the back line and the medics take care of them. This isn't the
That's
case in
true.
seafaring. There is no medics. We got to figure this
True.
out together as a team. Um, and I think another thing that I really admire from the content you produce, I saw a really lovely video on your social media, which really highlighted to me cultural collaboration. I think you were on deck playing cricket with some Indian seafarers, right? And I just
Yeah.
thought
Yeah.
that's so awesome. Like that's that, and I think that's really important. When I spoke to Chief Engineer Praneet Mehta, he said to me, one of the most important things that I can give advice to any seafarer is to invest in spending time in your crew. Do not hide in your cabin. You need to invest time in your crew because your crew is your family, and you need to make sure that you create that connection because that's all you've got for the next 3 or 4 months. So when I saw those videos, I was like, this is what it's all about, right? Creating a family with your crew, and playing cricket and having a good
Yeah.
time. Going down to the mess together, eating together, drinking a tea, talking about home life. That sort of stuff is really important when it comes to seafaring. Am I right?
Yeah, Carl, you're 100% right because we are, especially like Europeans and Eastern Europeans, we are nowadays mostly we're having like 3 4 months contracts. Sometimes you can find even 75 days on, 70 days, 5 days off. But for most of Filipino seafarers, those guys are staying 8 months, 9 months, and even more. For Indians also, for top officers, 4 months, but for junior officers, these are like 6 months. And it's quite a time. It's half or even more than half of your life. And of course, those welfare things, communication on board and actually spending quality time is crucial. Is crucial, man, because if this thing, there are sometimes there are very bad condition ship with very hectic schedule. But if your manager, first of all, captain is a really good manager, he understands all those things and he will manage his crew in such a way to make a real like a family. Then it doesn't matter how bad is your ship, how hectic is your schedule. You will stay there. You will do your stuff, but you know that on Sunday you will have party, you will have karaoke with the guys, you will have basketball or cricket match with like competitions and all. You will have a quality rest, and you feel this engagement. And this is one of the most important thing for especially top four officers to manage their welfare and quality time for crew.
Yeah, well said. Couldn't agree more. I want to talk a little bit more about safety and security. So I know that you
Mhm.
have certifications as a ship security officer. Could you elaborate a
Mhm.
little bit more on the importance of safety and security protocols on gas carriers, for example, and perhaps share an instance where these protocols were crucial from your side?
Mhm. I will be honest with you. I haven't touched high risk areas for last maybe 7 or 8 years. Lastly, I got passing Somalia and all these areas when I was on container ships on LNG and LPG carriers. I haven't touched those areas, but even though ISPS nowadays is one of the most important thing on board the vessel, we know after 9/11 in US, everything changed. The whole industry, not only maritime industry, but whole industry regarding security, there was a major changes. And the main thing, there is dedicated security officer on board, and there are thing called ISPS plan, where all dedicated procedures are written. How it looks practically. After each and every port, or if you're doing, for example, several ports in one country, like you're doing 3 ports in China, so at last port, right after departure or during departure, there should be this ISPS round shall be taken by all crew. So how it looks like, all crew split into teams. Normally it should be more than one person, 2 or 3 person, and all areas of the ship, they dedicated to each specific crew. And we all have checklists, which thing we have to check. And upon departure, all crew going for ISPS check. First of all, checking for any stowaways, any suspicious object, any packets or something that should not be there. And of course, we are checking it thoroughly. And then after completion, each team member has to report to the bridge that, sir, team number so-and-so completed ISPS check, search, everything is okay, no suspicious objects, no stowaway found. This is a very crucial, especially if ship is touching some African ports or South American ports, because most of the traffic, human traffic, is going from those countries. Asia, not really much, maybe Indonesia, Malaysia, such a countries, but mostly Africa. Nowadays, most of traffic's coming from Africa. And on those ships, SPS check shall be done 100+%.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. It's super vital to make sure that all of the rules and obligations are being followed by, because this is a very, very important role. You're right. At any given time, somebody could jump on board, which compromises the safety of the crew.
Exactly.
And having the right training is extremely important to be able to make sure you can handle these situations appropriately. And speaking of training, one of the things you talk about a lot in your content is never stop learning, right? You're always talking about how important it is to create more learning and training and for the efficiency and safety of maritime operations. Can you tell us a little bit more about just how important it is for seafarers to continuously keep learning about the maritime trade, and also what sort of training you've done yourself?
Mm-hmm. I got your question, and the thing is, the maritime industry, it's very dynamic when it comes to rules, when it comes to regulations, when it comes to new type of equipment and all those things. Especially, it's for both departments, for deck department, same as for engine department. Because all these new models, new Agdises, new radars, new type of machineries and all, they always market is implementing all those things, because it's all about efficiency, especially nowadays. I remember when I was completing my education, my final paperwork was about MARPOL thing regarding the emission control. And at that time, it was only being implemented, all this SOx and NOx emissions. And you probably heard about ECA area, the special areas where you have to change your type of fuel to reduce this sulfur oxides and all those things. And 10 years back, it was still just implemented. Nowadays, it's mandatory for Northern Europe, for the US areas, ECA areas, and for part of China. Nowadays, you cannot go there with heavy fuel oil. And the thing is, it's, again, for engineers, it's very crucial to learn how to make proper procedure of fuel changeover and all those things. And many ships nowadays coming, they're easily shifting to a gas fuel. Of course, LNG vessels, they are utilizing gas itself. Of course, we have standard fuel, low sulfur, but most of times we are using our gas itself, which we are having in our tanks, because you need to release pressure, you need to control temperature, and this thing, LNG gives you almost zero emissions, so there is no problem with that. And when it comes to new ships, there are also now installing the such types of engine that can run also on LNG or on LPG. So coming back to education, for seafarers, it's a very crucial thing. It's very important to continuously have this attitude of a student when you're continuously learning something, because most of the times company they're having a really huge list of trainings that not mandatory, not required by STCW, which we are doing all of us, but there are also company standard trainings, and there are plenty of them. It's also regarding firefighting, regarding LSA, security, medical. And nowadays, since there are more and more girls coming on board, actually, to merchant navy industry. So another thing which came recently is about harassment. It was a really few big issues were there, and our company, they are very careful about all those things, because now we are not only men on board ship, there are also girls, women who are coming and becoming our colleagues, and it's very normal. But when you're in isolated box for months, of course, you need to keep in mind also these things. These things might happen, and of course, now those trainings are also coming in force. So that's why for us as a seafarers, it's very important to continuously to be at one level with industry. If you want to keep on growing professionally, keep on increasing your salary and your value in the company, of course, you need to study. You need to study, because you want to be, every one of us need to be professional. We need to be pro in our work. Otherwise, nobody will do it instead of us. That's why when it comes to maritime education, is crucial to continuously keep studying.
Yeah, I totally agree. Really important note that you mentioned in terms of having more females on board and making sure that the shipping companies are providing the right education to make sure that that blend between male and female seafarers working together is done so correctly and with complete safety for females. Because you're right,
Yeah.
we have heard of many harassment cases that happen, and it's not okay. And I think a lot of it is down to education or a lack of education.
Exactly.
And I also think, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this. We hear a lot about autonomous shipping, right? So there's lots of noise about how eventually ships are not going to require a crew. Now, I personally, and speaking to people within the industry, have said that we don't think that there'll ever be a stage where a ship will not require any seafarer on board. However, there will be a requirement for less seafarers on board, and when that does happen, it will be the seafarers that have the most education, the ones that have the most certification, that will continue to work on board. So that's another
Exactly.
reason why I think actually it's so important for seafarers to stay competitive, because if there is ever a day, which with the way technology is going, it wouldn't surprise me if it happens. If there is ever a day where shipping companies say, actually, we don't need half of you anymore, when they go to choose the half they do need, you better believe they're going to go for the ones who have the highest competitive advantage when it comes to education. I want to talk a little bit about your career highlights. Can you tell me a little bit more about looking back at your career so far? And by no means is it over, but with the career you've had so far, what is the biggest achievements that stand out most to you?
My biggest achievement, actually, there are two biggest achievements in my career. First of all, that I was able to shift from completely dry fleet background directly to LPG, to gas fleet without demotion. Because I had this crazy idea from the very beginning, and everyone around me was telling me that, no, man, forget about this one. Even tanker guys who has tanker experience, they are really struggling to get to gas carriers. And for you, for dry cargo boy who carried like boxes, no, forget about this one. But I always had, and I always have this attitude that I don't know how I will get if I have my point B. Yeah, I clearly see it. I don't know how. I don't know when, but I will be there. And it took me 4 years, 4 years of different applying different strategies to get the gas carriers. I was really struggling time to time, but it took me 4 years to get there. And I came without demotion, without, I was second mate on container fleet, and I came directly as second mate without any step back to gas carrier fleet. And it was done. One of the biggest job, actually, which most of guys are facing nowadays to shift, because there is it's quite complicated to shift from one type of fleet to another, especially when in a order like of gas carrier fleets, LPG, LNG, ethylene carriers, and all. And second, my biggest achievement, I became a chief mate at age of 28. Again, after 2 contracts on board LPG with zero experience, but with very huge motivation and clear, strong attitude that I know second mate job. And second mate job on container fleet, on bulk carrier, on LNG, on LPG, on PCC, it's same. You are managing the route of the vessel and bridge equipment. And I knew how to do all this, because this is, again, it's coming to your studying abilities. If you're studying very fast, if you're trying different things, you're engaging yourself, you're forcing yourself to learn things. It's not a really it's not to launch a rocket to the space, to manage your bridge. It's not a big deal. Of course, you need experience, you need few contracts, you need to read manuals, you need to work on different equipment. But the idea, technical things is not a big deal. But the attitude, the soft skills, which I'm now promoting to my guys, your communication skills, your attitude, how you're approaching your job, how you're doing your time management, how you're giving to understand your top 4 officers that you're motivated, you're showing yourself interested in next rank job. Like, for example, as second mate, I used to keep watch 12 to 16. And after 16, I was always I was going to chief mate directly to catch at least 1.5 hour to do something with him. I was asking to make a cargo plan. I was asking to chief, show me this, show me that. And this is all about attitude. And this is how I got into contracts with zero experience at age of 28. I've also become a chief mate. It's all about attitude. It's all about soft skills. I strongly believe in soft skills. Technical things you can learn. We are having 4, 5, 6 years of education behind our shoulders, all about technical, but nobody teaching us how to communicate, how to do your time management, stress relieving techniques, which are also crucial when you're working on board ship. Like cultural communication, which is also, you need to be flexible. You cannot behave with Indians same as you're behaving with Croatians. It's totally different approach. You need to adapt. You need to find the way. And yeah, soft skills. It's all about soft skills. So finally, to my biggest achievement, jumping from dry fleet to gas carriers and becoming chief mate at 28.
Well, it's 2 fantastic achievements, and I totally agree with what you were saying about soft skills. It reminds me, just this week, one of my friends who's a third officer is on a cruise liner, and they docked up in Southampton, which is my local port to my home city in the UK. And I was fortunate enough to come on board and have some lunch. So we had some lunch together, and he had to be back on watch at the bridge at 1 p.m. And when it was getting closer to 1 p.m., I kept looking at his time, and I said, "What do you have to be on time?" And he said, "There's nobody that's going to tell me off, but out of respect to my crew and out of respect to my officers, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to be there at 1 o'clock." And I said,
Yes.
That's the reason why you've jumped from a cadet to third officer on your second contract."
Yes.
Because of the attitude, because of the soft skills, because that's what it's all about. Like you said, so important. The next question, this is a bit of an interesting one. So when I was doing some research on you, I saw something online about how you've expressed you have the intention to work on a membrane LNG ship. Can you explain to the audience what this entails and why you're interested in working on board a membrane LNG?
Just to make it clear, I had no experience with membrane LNG so far. I was working on MOS type. It's called Moss-Rosenberg. Nowadays, there are two completely different systems on LNG. One is membrane. Another one is Moss-Rosenberg. It's you can clearly see from the shape of the vessel, like Moss-Rosenberg has sphere tanks, like guys call them tits. Yeah, and membrane is more like prismatic form, you would say, and it's totally different system. Basically, the idea of the system is different. I won't go too much in technical aspects. And I had all my experience on Moss-Rosenberg types. It's quite an old system, you'd say. It's comes, I think, if I'm not mistaken, from 60s or 70s. The system was firstly implemented, and these Moss types, they're quite expensive. They are more expensive in building than membrane. Membranes are much cheaper. They're also safe. They're also good, but in view of how to say sustainability of cargo, and in case of any damage, the Moss-Rosenberg has 200% of proof. Like, it is so safe to operate this one, even though it's quite ancient, I would say, system. But this one, yeah. There are certain cons and pros about both systems, and I was doing a reel on pros and cons about both systems. Guys can check it on my profile. But the thing is, most, because they are quite expensive to build nowadays, there hardly any more Moss are being built. For example, I think if 100 ships coming, so one will be Moss, 99 will be membranes. So it's about this.
Okay, makes sense. But what made you interested in eventually operating one? Why is that? Is it just because you haven't before? Is that you just want to try it out, or what gives you that interest?
Yeah, the interest about LNG fleet basically is, of course, this is like now 10 years back, in even nowadays, the top fleet of the world, if we're coming in a technical wise, in a safety wise, in a salary wise. This is the top which you can find now on the market. And I had this attitude, I still have: if you want to be the best, you need to work with the best. And the best 10 years back, it was LNG. Nowadays, it's also LNG. That's why for me, it was like challenge. Yeah, I like to be engaged in huge projects, which when you're looking at it, no way, how you can do this, man? How you can do this, man? But I like to be engaged in such a huge projects. It's all about my life. It's like recently in December, I was doing hiking in Nepal. I was doing solo because I'm fond of solo hiking, and I was climbing 5,418 meters solo.
Wow!
In the Nepal, yeah. So this my life is all about huge projects. So no, everyone told me that it's not possible to come to LNG. I came to LNG. Everyone told me that forget about becoming a chief mate before 30s. I become at 28. And there are many other things in my life. This is also about attitude. I don't promote this kind of attitude to each and everyone. All of us are different, and there are different approaches, different characteristics. But my characteristics are so that I need something really huge in my life.
Nice.
That's
yeah,
why.
You definitely sound like the type of individual that constantly wants to challenge yourself.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in learning a little bit more about how you've now transferred your skills to shore-based work, and obviously you're on a sabbatical at the moment. So one of the things I find is when I speak to people, say for example in the military, when they've finished working in the military and they go back to what you call normal life, it's very difficult to drop the mindset they had that they built in the military. It's sometimes they struggle to sort of get accustomed to normal life. Is it the same as a seafarer? Have you found that when you're coming on board, you think differently? Sorry, when you're coming on shore, you're thinking differently from the general public. Is there habits that and values that you've now brought onto your lifestyle on land?
Yeah, of course, there are. I always consider these maritime skills from positive and from negative sides. So I would like to start from negative sides, which I felt and which are most of my colleagues seafarers told me the same. First of all, once we are going on board the ship, we are out of the lives. It's really sad to say, but our parents are passing away, we are on board the vessel. Our kids making their first steps, we are on board the vessel. We are out of time. When our beloved ones experiencing some hard times, we are on board the vessel. We are always out of normal real life. What is happening? We are sacrificing. Of course, we know why we are sacrificing. We want to support our families. We want to become a professionals. We want to, see the world, other things, but mostly, let's be honest, most of us are there because of money. Because of money, this is one of the main reason for us. So, and the negative side that we are half of our life, we are not living it. We are, of course, we are with our crew, with our fellow mates, but it's different. It's different. We are forcing ourselves to be with those people and to handle this situation. But actually, when you're coming on board, you need to adapt again very fast for the shore life. I will tell you what. When I'm coming on board the vessel, first 2 weeks I'm really like out of what is happening. First of all, I need to remember all my PIN cards from my credit cards. I don't remember it. I need to remember how to pay for the gasoline to get to subway. All those things, basic things which are really very normal for people to go to shop, to drive the car, I don't know, to cook the food or to go to restaurants. It sounds so basic, but for most of seafarers, it's like you're doing this from very beginning, and you need time to adapt. And this time is very stressful, especially first 2-3 weeks for seafarers, because most of guys, they are lacking this time, this freedom, and they start diving into life ashore like a crazy. They want to do everything. They want to go for vacation. They want to start a renovation in their houses. They want to buy a car, and so many things. And of course, they're burning out, because you cannot force your nature, because it's a really huge stress. First of all, completely changing of lifestyle, yeah, because you're still continuously when I was second mate, I was waking up at midnight for my watch when I was at home.
Yeah.
At midnight, you're waking up and I'm at home. There is no binocular, no traffic. Okay. And you need time. And another very pathetic thing, that we are always know that our time is limited. It might be 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, but most of seafarers, they are living with this thought inside. Soon I will be going. And it's very sad when companies start calling you and actually forcing you and pushing you. Oh, we have emergency case. There is one guy, he having a health issue. He need to sign off. Could you please come and relieve for 1 or 2 months? And you're just 1 month ashore. And there is a huge fear inside yourself, because if you say no to company, they might not call you next time. And again, you have to make your CV, call other companies, pass interview, and it's huge. And seafarers living always in this tension, especially when it comes to junior ranks. When you're chief officer, when you're a master, it's a different story. You have your backup fund. You can survive for 1 year, no problem. But even though masters and seafarers, masters and chief officers, they're using to get to this job after years. And for them, normal life is also like something really strange. They're very comfortable on the ship because they're the very big bosses, 3 stripes, 4 stripes. You're number one person. But at home, you're just average guy. You're just a father. Yeah. You're just husband.
That's so interesting.
You're just, yeah.
And let me
And this is also actually. Mhm.
Yeah, sorry. Just another question off the back of that I'm really interested in knowing about. What you first started off talking about was about how you have to accept and disconnect from home life because you're going to be away for
Yeah.
4 months. You have to accept that. Do you think that seafarers maybe struggle with connecting with their family afterwards because they build a mentality which is continuously accepting disconnection? So in some ways, they
Mhm.
almost struggle to be in touch with their emotions almost. They become, dare I say, emotionless. Do you think that's something that many seafarers face?
I cannot say for everyone, but I think it's very general thing among seafarers. It's a very general thing, and I'm coming from such a background. I'm like post-Soviet grown-up guy, and for us to show your emotions is prohibited because our Soviet people, they were very tough, and there was nowadays. Thank you. We have psychologists, we have some support and all those things, but still many seafarers, they're afraid to to search for some help because they think that if for example, they will get some psychotherapist session, their relatives will think that you are like something wrong with you. And it's totally a wrong positioning in your mind. No, I clearly sure, and I'm also promoting this thing to seafarers. If you feel so, find a good psychotherapist or find the like group where you can share your emotions. If you're not able to share this with your family, you need to find a way to let it out. This will be accelerating your adaptability ashore for this what you told, for connection, for emotion expressing, because yeah, this thing is becoming, if you're not using it, and we are not using it on board, it's becoming like useless, it's not working. Same with everything in our body, about our muscles, about our brain, and all those things. Yeah, that's true.
So important. I think that's such an important note, that people actually shore based need to know as well. They need to be.
Yeah,
I think that a lot of the time, maybe a seafarer comes back home, and the family and kids are like, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy, we haven't seen you in so
yeah,
long," and
yeah,
maybe he's just a bit like, "Whoa," like this is, and they don't. They need to understand that part, and employers need to understand that part as well. There needs to be some serious programs that are put in place. And I
yes,
know that there's a lot of these wellness programs for seafarers, and some of
yeah,
them are really helpful. But I think that actually the companies really need to consider that their job is actually disconnecting them emotionally from
yes,
the life,
yes,
family, and they have to consider that, because that can have some really detrimental factors on the rest of their life, after
yeah,
they've been on
true.
board. Um,
Hmm.
let's talk about social media, because that's what my big thing that I'm promoting at Seafarer
Hmm.
Social
Hmm.
is working with seafarers who want to create social media strategies to promote
Yeah,
themselves, working with companies that want to work with seafarers through social media. Every single industry almost in the world is now starting to realize how important social media is. Shipping
hmm.
seems to be quite far behind. So tell me a little bit more, firstly, about your social media presence and how you've grown your Instagram channel.
Hmm.
And also tell me a
Hmm.
little bit more about how you think social media will play an important role in the future of seafaring for the shipping companies
Hmm.
and for the seafarer.
Yeah, I see. So coming back to July 2023, like how many, 8, 9 months back. So this is the time I decided that I will work on my social medias, on my Instagram. I already had my Instagram page for before that, like for 2 or 3 years, but they were hardly like 400, 500 people. And then I decided, okay, I have a really nice niche I'm interested to do, and I'm really interested in sharing with people my experience, not only about seafaring, but around attitude, some education, traveling, adventures, and all those things. And I started to work on my social media from July last year. I start learning the strategies, start reading the books about marketing, about social media promotions, and all those things. Because it's like a science, man. To make your social media, you need to consider many, many things. It's not only enough to make a really good content, because you can make a brilliant content, beautiful videos with it edited and look nicely. But if no one see it, it's useless. Promotion, marketing. And this is what I found. You need to invest. Of course, there are free instruments which you can use for free, but continuous engagement and increasing of your followers, it's always about investment. You need to consider your social media as your business project. And you need to invest money there. Not only time, but money as well. It's very important because it works like this. If you want to grow up your audience, you need to make collaborations with big publics or with influencers who already having followers. You need to try targets, which are allowing. Facebook is a really nice system, but again, you need to do it by yourself, or you need to hire a person who are already know how to do this, all these adjustments and all. And of course, you need to build up strategy. You need to build up strategy to have a content plan. You need to find your unique niche, and you need to explore yourself and also be like, to have a skills of an influencer, actually, not to be afraid of camera, to have your body language adjusted, the way of your speaking. Actually, you have to be a good speaker, good motivator, look good. And there are many, many things which you're not thinking unless you start learning about those things. And they are crucial. It's really like a science. And for me, it's like a business project nowadays, my social media. And less than 6 months, I've grown up my audience more than 20,000 people. Yeah.
Wow, all organically.
Yeah, all organically. I didn't do this bullshit, this buying some dead souls, which are just hanging there when you have 100,000 people, but your reels are only 1,000 watches. No, this is the really good indicator. Once I see the guy with a huge audience, I directly come to his reels. And then you can directly see if there are 1,000 views, 2,000 views, you say, I got it. What is that? All organically, because people are engaged. You can see I have 3 reels which are over 1 million, 2 million views, and it's all done organically because people interested. I put something there, I know what, that are really engaged people, and it caught their eye, and you see there are a lot of comments, there are a lot of reposts. So yeah, this thing works, but you need to find out.
Your biggest video, correct me if I'm wrong, was a video about why you should quit seafaring, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. One of the most popular video. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that one was really interesting, and actually, a few other influencers that have done similar captions. It worked really well,
Yeah.
because it's Ivan Guzman, one of the young TikTok stars that I speak to. He's got 2.7 million followers on TikTok, and he did a video
it's huge.
on TikTok, which was like why you should not become a seafarer, and it just went because it's all about the hook, right? It's all about the hook. You know your audience.
It's all about hook.
You know your audience is either interested in becoming a seafarer or is a seafarer, and as soon as they see a video that says why you shouldn't become,
why you shouldn't,
naturally the psychology goes, I gotta watch this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all about psychology. It's all about the hooks. You get it. Okay, so do you think that social media? Because one of the big issues in seafaring is, when people are on board, they have to be very, very careful about not getting the company logo in their videos. They have to make sure that they're not saying maybe negative stuff about the ship, etc. Do you think that as time goes on and next generation of seafarers start to come on board, male and female, do you think that social media is going to become bigger in the seafaring space? And also, there's some big issues in the seafaring recruitment space. People are talking about this recruitment crisis, which I think is a little bit of a taboo subject, because actually, from what I've seen, especially in the Philippines, there are a lot of cadets out there. There's just not enough opportunities out there. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But when it comes to attracting new talent, maybe from different countries, maybe more Europeans, etc., do you think that social media is an important tool to attract next gen talent?
I really wish that all these dinosaurs who are sitting in the offices, they will understand soon that the importance of the social media. You cannot avoid this one. I know. I experienced this conversation with my previous company when they got to my profile, and I had a really bad time explaining them why I'm doing this. There was some complication. There was some logo, mentioned of my previous company. And I had really bad time trying to explain them what I'm doing, why am I doing. I'm giving them free advertisement for 20,000 people, and they are trying to punish me. They're trying to to get
more
me off.
More than 20,000.
Yeah, and they're still trying. I don't know why they are not understanding that this is the free promotion for them as a company. I'm not telling any bullshit about company. I didn't get footage of any documents of things that should not be distributed to anyone else outside company. But man, I think some companies already understanding this, especially some Europeans, especially when it comes to cruise ships. I see how cruise industry, how they're advanced of making social medias. There are
Yeah.
captains, lady captain, I don't remember her name, who are promoting. She's always doing shooting.
Captain Kate McKee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it is amazing. I really wish all these old farts from our offices they will understand this thing as soon as possible. That this is the future. You need to promote your company. You need to show that people, cadets, new generation, they will be striving. They will be advancing their knowledge, their skills, just to get to their company and to implement their best knowledge and best skills in order to increase the reputation of company and make sure to bring money to the company. This is the final to make it more safe, the voyages and all. And I hope I don't know what should happen that to make them understand this thing. Maybe there should be again generations should be changed and fresh guys should come to offices, freshers to work on this. I think it's all about timing. We need just to wait. But nowadays, yeah, what I see from merchant navy, it's kind of prohibited, and you can get even punished for showing even logo on your social media.
Yeah, I agree. But you're totally right. Times are changing, and soon those old farts, as you said, are going to be out the door, and the next generation of young individuals are going to be the decision makers, and they're going to have grown up with social media all their lives, and they're going to implement and understand how important it is. It is the media tool of today. Young
Yeah.
people aren't reading print anymore. Young people aren't interested in watching advertisements on television. Everything is on the phone nowadays.
Yeah.
And every single industry almost in the world has understood this and is implementing strategies.
Yes.
And there's some. It starts off with just hiring a marketing person. Next, you're hiring a social media person who understands
Yes.
each of the platforms, understands the algorithms. Then you're able to
Exactly.
develop a strategy, and then next thing you know, maybe some boring video that you think is just silly of someone being on board doing something really impractical gets 1 million views, and out of those
Yeah.
millions of views, 10% of them decide actually this is something that's quite interesting. I've been looking for direction. This could be an interesting career for me. And then 1% of that 10% convert, and now all of a sudden you've got 10,000 people applying for your company. I mean, that is just it's simple mathematics, and I
That's
think
true.
more businesses within the shipping industry need to know how important it is. My final question for you, and I ask this to everybody: can you please give us some advice for aspiring seafarers, the next generation of seafarers who are considering a career in the maritime industry?
Guys, always be curious and eager for knowledge, for new skills, for knowledge. Always try to look for a person who already knows something more than you and ask. Don't be shy to ask. Please teach me. Please show me. Let me make same in front of you. You check and please correct me if I'm doing something wrong. Start doing something. Once you got knowledge, try to apply them to your life. Try to do something. Make your own mistakes using the surveillance from the person who already know how to do it. This is the first thing. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to make mistakes because we are all learning from our mistakes. Of course, you need to have a common sense. Of course, you don't need to on gas carriers to run with the lighter on, not this kind of mistakes. But again, be curious and be eager for knowledge and learn how to take proper rest. Because if you're not recharged, if you don't know how to disconnect from all the world, from social medias, from your work, and just to give yourself proper rest, you won't get 100% of your efficiency. Learn, find the things that are recharging you and utilize them. Don't become a workaholic.
Great advice. Thank you very much, Nikolai. Before we finish, could you tell our audience where they can find you? And maybe this is a good opportunity to plug your coaching that you're currently doing for other seafarers as well, please.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Nikolai Sozinov. You can easily find me. And yeah, presently I'm engaged in maritime coaching. I'm doing coaching degree in ICF Academy, and also I'm engaged in mentoring that are more specific on certain topics like how to enter LNG market, how to prepare CV, how to prepare yourself for interview, how to implement work-life balance when you're on board, stress relieving techniques and soft skills, which we are talking about. All these things I'm teaching people how to implement there in your life, and how to make a strategy, basically how to make a strategy for reaching your goal from very beginning till you're reaching it, how to make this way from point A to point B. And you can find me on Instagram, Nikolai Sozinov.
Thank you so much, Nikolai. See you soon.